So yeah, Republicans are attempting to create databases of trans people, and it's pretty obvious that that's like, it's genocidal. You know, I don't want to, you know, as per usual, I'm not trying to exaggerate for effect or anything. It's just a real problem. Like, it's a real serious issue. So as usual, scary things happening in Texas. It's been just more and more things from these southern states over the past few months. In this instance, Texas has been making some anti-trans moves. They've been trying to make it to where it's illegal for trans kids to get health care specifically related to their transition, and like to specifically also make it legally child abuse in order like to provide them that care, which is not ideal because it means you're just going to start stealing kids from supportive families, forcibly detransitioning them in the foster care system, exposing them to potential danger, like trafficking danger and stuff like that. Like, yeah, so it's been bad. And then additionally, we're receiving news here very recently that Texas has made like a list of trans people who are there. Like, Texas Attorney General's office requested data on the number of Texas who in recent years had switched their gender on driver's licenses and other state documents, reported by the Washington Post. We are on Reuters because they don't make you pay for the articles. The Post reported the report was based on a public records request on the internal communications within the Department of Public Safety related to the Attorney General's office request. The DPS is the agency that issues driver's license and other state documents. The motive behind this request, which was made in June, so this was 6 months ago, sought the data of those who switched genders in the previous 2 years, and the request is, the motive is unknown. The paper reported that advocates for transgender Texans are worried the Attorney General could use the data to further restrict their right to transition, that it would have a chilling effect to secretly harness personal information to persecute already vulnerable people. Scary. This also comes at a time when leaders in Republican-led state have focused on trans issues, including investigating families of trans youth for child abuse and passing a bill to ban trans kids from playing sports that don't align with their gender at birth. This is not the first time this has happened either. Oh, wow. And interesting. So a spokesperson for DPS told the Post that an initial search found 16,000 instances of genders being switched on driver's licenses and other documents. So some of those could be repeat. Like a person changes their birth certificate and their driver's license could count for 2 of these. DPS determined that a more thorough manual search of records was needed to get an accurate figure on gender switches on documents and why such switches were made. Why do you want to know why the switches were made? It's fucking apparent why the switches were made. Get the hell out of my business. Ultimately, no data was delivered by DPS to the Attorney General's office because an accurate account was not possible, says a spokesperson. He added that they could not say who within the Attorney General's office had made the request for the data. So I guess they did not succeed. December 14th, today's the 18th. So I guess they did not succeed in receiving this information, but they could have gotten at least partial info. An initial search did find a bunch of gender switches, but no data was delivered by DPS to the Attorney General's office. So I guess that's good. Like, an accurate count was not possible, but they've been doing this for a while. Yeah, they attempted to gather a database of all trans people in the state. The use of registries has been proposed in several states now. Yeah, we watched this before when this lady at the Florida meeting was saying like, oh, we should for real like start a registry of all the trans kids in the state. So some school districts like Hanover County Public Schools in Virginia have already adopted registry-like policies. The state of Florida considered the registry. Ohio has similarly considered a bill that would create a registry of all trans people in the state. So yeah, Republicans are attempting to create databases of trans people, and it's pretty obvious that that's like, it's genocidal. You know, I don't want to, you know, as per usual, I'm not trying to exaggerate for effect or anything. It's just a real fucking problem. Like, it's a real serious issue. Hanover County Public Schools is using a registry process to gather info on all trans students that want to use bathrooms which correspond to their gender identity. We know what the next step is after minority groups are meticulously tracked. Yeah, I don't want to be tracked. Like, it's bad enough that there is a record of me having changed my gender fucking 6 years ago or whenever that was on my driver's license. You know, I haven't, like, I wish that I could turn it into an X, but then it would be obvious even if somebody Yeah, genocidetimeline.jpg. I really did consider pulling that up just then, but I didn't. I think the bureaucrats passive-aggressively refused to provide the data for the registry. I mean, that I would hope that just like bureaucratic non-compliance from people who mean well toward us could be good, potentially. Yeah, they want us to think that it's not a genocide until the Holocaust actually happens. You know, why? I wonder at what phase in the process they made fucking lists of Jews, right? Just get all the trans people out of Florida and break the whole peninsula off to sink into the ocean. I mean, yeah, in this particular instance, there are times when you can use the bureaucratic process to accomplish something good. Although, I guess you're fundamentally still using the terrible mechanisms of bureaucracy in order to accomplish those goals. But still, I'll take it because there's just... I run out of things to say. Like, I don't know what to say at a certain point with this stuff where it's like, I am scared of what is going to happen to the people in Texas and all these other places where these lists are trying to be made. Like, not all of these places have been successful in curating lists of trans people, but Hanover County Public Schools tried to do that, and they're trying to do that. And some other places are talking about doing it, and that's just not positive. If Paxton gets that list, I will be on it. Right. So we are just gonna keep trucking along, keeping an eye on things, I guess, and supporting our comrades who need to get the fuck out of these places. Yeah, we should be opening up lanes to get people away from these environs. Like, how do we do that? I am a little tiny streamer boy with, like, who works for tips, and I will do what I can to provide information and stuff, and like I'll post people's GoFundMes and shit when they're trying to move out of the state or whatever, but I just don't know like what else I can realistically do. If I made $100,000 a year, like I hope that you all know that if you all get me to a point where your donations are getting me to a point where I can well more than afford everything that I need to keep myself going, like, yeah, one of the main things that I'm gonna do is like, I'm not going to feel as restricted when people are like, I need some money for my GoFundMe. I'm going to be like, okay, cool. Queer women, trans men, like trans people in general, like queer people. I'm going to start funding people's shit. I really just want to get to a point where I'm stable enough to like just be functional. That's like my main goal. But if I do get to a point where I have way more money than I need, like I'm not going to hold on to it. They definitely did make lists of Jews, epileptics, and anyone with disabilities or anyone who disagreed with the Nazis. Then they publicly identified them with the stars, etc., and we all know what happened next. Yep. I should get like a pink triangle tattooed on my forehead so that people will stop forgetting that trans and queer people were killed during the Holocaust. It's so deeply irritating to me when someone's like, how dare you appropriate the struggle of the Jews? I'm like, go fuck yourself, bro. At least Jews got fucking reparations. Thank you so much to my patrons for supporting all the work behind the scenes. I appreciate you so much, and I especially want to shout out Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Jovian F. Gaudreau, Bean, M. Hatfield, Heather Clarkson, Amanda B., Sarah A., R. Halverson, Athiette, Michelle Winter, Wellington Marcus, Nova, Suzanne Maynard, Elizabeth Bartell, Sojo, and Mr. Atheist.